Hi there, I'm Eli Sipka, and this is the Apatros Review. Now in this episode we take a look at a film called Mummy's Day, which was also known as Mummy's Day. This was a film that apparently had a theatrical release or direct-to-video, I'm not sure which, and this was released in the United States on the 31st of January 1997, and was directed by and written by Max Allan Collins, produced by James K. Hoffman, photographed and edited by Philip D. Dingeldine, music by Richard Lowry, and production design by Paul Stevenson. The cast includes Patty McCormack, Rachel Lemieux, Bridget Stevens, Gary Sandy, Michael Cornelison, Mickey Spillane, and Sarah J. Miller. Now, this was released onto Australian DVD by Flashback Entertainment in both the form of a single release and as part of a horror-themed 10-film box set, both coming out in the early to mid-2000s. Quality is not part of a good condition VHS tape. Now for the synopsis. Granted clemency right after she attempts an escape from the execution chamber, Mommy Sterling is given an implant that will curb her violent behavior, and one of the conditions of her release is an order to stay away from her daughter Jessica Ann, an order she basically ignores and makes several covert attempts to contact Jessica Ann any chance she gets. But somebody is going to the trouble of framing Sterling for a whole series of new murders, and once the spotlight of suspicion falls on Sterling, she claims to be innocent, which for once she is right and indeed innocent, but nobody believes her, while at the same time her brother-in-law, who got rich off writing a book about her, decides to write a follow-up based on current exploits, believing lightning will strike again. With the implant doing its best to stop her from committing any violent acts, Sterling has to use her ingenuity to find a way to prove her innocence, expose the real murderer, and get her daughter back, all without dropping a single body herself. The original Mummy was a rather cheap-jack and in many ways amateurish direct-to-video thriller that served as the directorial debut of prolific true crime novelist, screenwriter, trading card designer, and Mickey Spillane biographer Max Allan Collins, and has a sort of parallel universe sequel sorts to the cult 1956 thriller The Bad Seed, the one with the 11-year-old serial killer, predicated on the what-if idea that Rhoda Penmark survived the divine lightning bolt to the end, grew up and became a successful mother, but still reverted to the old ways to ruthlessly slaughter anything that came in close to ruining the life of her own daughter. It was an average movie at best, but Patty McCormack was, true to form, always in the role. She just needed a bit of movie to do with it. Well, she got a better chance with the sequel, titled in some places Mommy 2 Mummy's Day, which picks up her execution date. Don't worry, she uses her brains and ruthlessness to escape, but right when she's caught, her clemency order comes through and she's given that on one condition: stay the hell away from her daughter, who is in the custody of her sister, played by Bridget Stevens, again in a role where she actually keeps her clothes on for a change. Collins writes a better script this time around, and even though the first film was cheaper than the $2 steak at your local steakhouse, at least it was successful enough to give Collins a better budget for this follow-up. Collins also felt the desire to push the envelope with Mummy's Day, but remembering he was making a family-friendly thriller, has enough restraint to make sure any push stays within its boundaries. There is a very brief depiction of partial nudity, I'll explain that later on, and the violence is slightly more significant, but all still acceptable within PG-13 guidelines. Well, at the end of the day, Mummy's Day isn't going to win any awards for Max Allan Collins for outstanding quality, let alone the Academy Awards, but it is about passable bit of thriller hokum that you can even let your children watch on family-themed horror nights, and Patty McCormack is still awesome as always. Mummy's Day gets a C+, 5 out of 10 from me. A passable horror thriller suitable for the whole family. Now for good nudity. Now you're probably wondering, okay, you mentioned partial nudity and also claims it has a body count, so what do I need to do to make sure it's suitable for the kiddies? Well, you really don't need to do anything. Just to explain the story concept to the kids, and that's about it. There are a slew of creative killings here, but Collins was smart enough not to put any gore here, so you don't need to worry about blood. As for the partial nudity I mentioned earlier, I totally get to that. Sarah J. Miller gets into a shower completely naked, but her nudity is completely masked, and when she's electrocuted, only the bottom half of the very bottom edge of her boobs are visible. Nothing that will end up upsetting children over. In fact, that scene will have them laughing themselves sick. Max Allan Collins took a harder gamble here, but he played safe, so the kids will be laughing at that one. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. It's less than an hour before New Year. I'm going to try and see how many of these episodes I can do, and I'll just upload them throughout the night at like 1 per hour. We'll see. Okay, hope you guys are staying safe. Take it easy. That's it for this review. See ya.